So in last session, what we have seen, like how do we install the Angular? First, we have to install the Node.js. Once we did that, after that, we have installed the Angular CLI. After that, we have created project also. Now, while creating project, like with the older version and the newer version also. So ng new and the project name. Whatever project name you want to give, this is the command to create a new project. So by using this, we have created two projects. First was the employee ERP. This was with Angular 17, the latest project architecture, and school ERP. This was again with the Angular 17, but with the previous architecture with the app module, right? Now I will just open the older version code for now. So today we are just talking about, we are just going to discuss about component, like what are components, what are the purpose of component, why do we need to create the components and everything. So remember, like when you are opening the project, make sure you are opening it correctly. File, open folder, and you need to open the particular folder. So let's say D drive, then Angular Academy. So these are the projects. So you need to select any particular folder. Whatever the project you want to open, you need to select that particular folder. So let's say school ERP. So select. So yesterday I have stopped that npm install. So I will just start that again from my command prompt inside terminal. I will just do the npm install because yesterday I stopped that process. Let me just complete that now. So this process can continuously work. Now, like what is component? So we know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So let's say someone asks you to design a user registration page. So what you will do, you will create a user registration.html page. You will create the basic UI structure using HTML. If you have to add a classes, you can directly write the inline CSS, or you will create a class and add that class to that. Or if you need to write the code, you will write that code in the script tag. So when we say HTML page, so HTML page inside that, inside body, you will design whole page. Correct. Now, if you want to store some CSS or you need to create some classes, CSS classes, so that you will do in the style attribute, style section. Correct. Create CSS. Now we have script side. So inside this script, we write the actual scripting, whatever the events, variable declaration, functions, whatever we know that we write in the script section. Let me just open a file. So let's consider this HTML page. So this is my HTML page. Let's say I need a class. So I will create that class in my style section. Let's say I need to write a code, right? So that code, I will be writing it inside my script tag like this. Correct? And remaining will be my HTML inside body section. So when we talk about a normal HTML space, so we get HTML code into that file, we get CSS file, CSS code also over there, and script also over there. So in a single page, we get everything. Okay, this was with normal HTML page. Now, coming back to Angular. So when, just like the same thing, if I ask you to create a page in Angular, so what we do, and normal HTML page is there, right? Now, when it comes to Angular, when we say I want to create a page in Angular, so I will create a component. So normal HTML page will be equivalent to a component in Angular. Just remember this for now. Those who already knows and already have been working on that, they might know the definition properly. But just considering everyone is fresher, I'm just going through a normal definition. So consider you want to create a page in Angular, so you will create a component. Now, in HTML page, we used to separate you in a single page only. We used to have everything, means HTML code, style, and the script and everything. But in component, HTML will be in a separate file, style will be in a separate file, and script means coding part will be in a separate file. Now, how do we create a component? So we can create a component by using a command like ng generate. What we have to generate? Component, and then component name. So this is the command to just create a new component, right? Now, Inside this app folder, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create a simple folder. So here you can see I have selected this. I'm clicking on this. It will create a new folder. So let's say components. So just a folder I have created. Now I have to create component inside this folder. Okay, what I want to do, I want to create component. Let's say I want to create a user component. So I will create that component inside this folder. So I'm right clicking on this. And what I need to do, I need to open a command prompt on this particular folder. So here you can see, once you right click, you will get the fourth option, open in integrated terminal. So once I click, a new terminal will be opened along with that folder location. See, wherever I have clicked on right click on over here and I said open in integrated terminal. So that command prompt, internal terminal command prompt got open with that particular folder. Now here I need to create my, here I need to fire that command. So ng generate, what I need to create, what I need to generate component. So component, then component name, let's say user. This is the page, this is the component I want to create. So for now, for let's say 5 to 6 session, you can just assume like whenever we are creating component, it will be, we can treat that component as nothing but a HTML page. Enter. So now just observe what is happening. So when we fire this command, see what it has done. It has created 4 files. You can see create, and it has updated 1 file, appmodule.ts. So how many files it has created when we say create a component, ng generate component and the component name. So it has created 4 files, one HTML file, one spec.ts, one .ts and one CSS. Okay, so let's expand that. Now inside the component folder, we have got user. Let's create one more. Again, ng. Now see, either you can write the whole like this or there is a shortcut also. So ng, instead of generate, you can write G also, a short form of generate. Instead of whole component, you can write C also. Second component I'm creating is customer. Enter. So now in my component folder, there will be 2 components will be created. Again, see, 4 files has been created and 1 file is updated, that is app module. Okay. Now here you can see in component folder, we have got 2 component. So in each component, we have got some different set of files. Okay. Now just pay attention. When we talk about normal HTML page, so we get a single file, and inside that single file, we will have a UI code also, means HTML code. Then style section will also be there, and a script section will also be there. Correct. But when it comes to Angular, this HTML code is in, you can write the HTML code inside this file, right? If you need, let's say in this particular HTML file, you need to you need to use some class, you need to create some CSS. So that CSS you will create inside this customer.component.cs. So let's say you need some particular classes, or you need to create some classes for the CSS. So that you are going to use in this customer component. So you will create in the customer component.css, right? This is one part. Again, now if you need to write event and variable declaration or some code you need to write, that code you will write it into the .ts. So now understand, like in HTML page, in a single file, we used to write whole code, means HTML, CSS, and the JavaScript. But in Angular, a replacement of page is component. But in component, we have different set of files. For designing purpose, we use HTML. For storing CSS or creating classes, we use CSS file. And for writing code, we use this component.ts. .ts means it's a TypeScript file. This is HTML file and this is a normal CSS file. This spec.ts you can ignore for now. This is for testing. Okay, you can just ignore it. Just 3 important files we have to know. Customer component.cs. Now you can see whatever the component name we have given now. So you can see everywhere user.component.css, user.component.html, user.component.ts. Same like customer.component, customer. So same thing is there. Just your component will get changed. So we haven't created this. Angular CLI has created these files for us. Okay. Now pay attention to terminal. When we created component, it has created 4 files. These 4 files it has created and it has updated 1 file. Same like when we created customer component, it has created 4 file and it has updated 1 file, that is app module.ts. So where is this app module.ts? So if you see the path src app, then app module.ts. So inside src in app folder, we have app module.ts. See. So when it said it has updated app module.ts, so what it has done, whatever the components you have created now, in each component, we are having a class. Now, those who don't know class, I will explain you in a separate session like what is class. But most of the developers who are here already knows Angular, and that's why I'm not covering what is class over here. Just consider this is a component, and it's a what do we say? It's just a unique identifier for this component class. It's a class. As I told you, like TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript, but it supports some of the OOPS features. Whenever we say any programming language, so in each, whenever we say programming, we know the first two words, class and the object. Okay, so in C or C++, you might have understood, no, you might have learned like what is class. So that is nothing but the same structure, whatever the class definition you know, that is nothing but this. Okay, so in each component, you will get the class file. So here you can see in customer, we have got customer component.class. And in user, we will get user component.class. Okay, now, so in app module, when we say create component, when this command was fired, it has created 4 file and it has updated 1 file, that is app module. So whenever a component get created, its class file will be added to the app module in declaration section. Now, what is module? Again, I won't cover, I won't be covering this right now. Just let at least 5 to 6 sessions, let it go. Then you will be at a level where you understand or you will have a basic idea how Angular works. Then I will explain like what is module. But for now, just remember whenever we create a component, that component class name will be added to the declaration section of app module. You can see the same thing over here. When we create the component, that class name got added. It said it has updated app module. Means it has updated app module, mean it has added the class name over here. Now just pay attention. I will create one more component. So currently we just have two components, customer and the user. Right click on the component folder, open in terminal. Now new terminal will be open. Now I want to create ng generate component. Let's say add user component I want to create. Okay, let's press enter. So now you just pay attention over here. A class name will be automatically added over here in this array. See, once this component got created, in here also you can see add user, and this add user class name got added over here. This is nothing but a component name. For now, just basic understanding you can consider. Okay, so we have created 3 components into our application. Now, let's try to run the application first. So how do we run the application? Again, you can open the terminal either from here or from the bottom. Whenever you want to run the application, make sure you are running uh, ngserv command on the parent root of directory. This is our folder name. This is parent folder of our Angular project. So here only you should run. If you run this command outside or inside any folder, you won't be able to run the project. On the folder, what is the folder name of our project? There only you should run it. Enter. So to run the Angular project, we have to use this command ngserv. So once we enter this command, it will compile the application, it will build it, and that build will be hosted on the localhost 4200. So you can see same it is mentioned over here. Let's try to open. So this is the default page which we get. Let me just close it. Now, yesterday I told you like by default, my app component will be a parent component. Whenever we create any Angular project, whether it is with the older version or the newer version, by default, one component will be there, which will be a parent component. So in older version, we get app module, and inside that app module, this is the section where we can see which is my parent component. By default, it will be app component only. So this is what my parent component. So if we go over here, so same code is there. Let me remove it and I will just simply print hello over here. Let's save. Now you can see hello, we have got it over here. because whenever we run the Angular project, by default, first component will be loaded. So that is app component, because app component is my parent component. Okay. Just a good normal understanding we are talking about. This is not an actual theory or something, but just for understanding, we can say when a app component is my parent component. Okay. Now we have created three components: add user, customer, and user, right? In this HTML, let's write something. Hi from add user page. This is what you have written in the add user component. Then in customer, welcome to customer page. Inside each component, I'm just writing some HTML code. And in user page, I will write you are in user page. Okay. So now if you see in all the three components, I have written something. Now we have created the component, but if you see all this component, anything we are not able to see it over here. We are just able to see hello over here because we have created component, but we haven't load that component anywhere else. Okay. So by default, what I said, parent component, app component will be visible. So that's why only hello is visible to you. Now, instead of hello, I will write parent page. Okay. Here I'm writing parent page. Now, beside this, I'm creating a table. We haven't installed the Bootstrap. So just for creating row column structure, I'm using table. I'm creating tr. Inside that, I will create 3 TD. First TD, second TD, third TD, and I will add a style with 100% width. Let's say instead of writing this over here, as I told you in the previously, let's say I need to create a class which I will be using in the app component. So in app component.css, I will be creating a class table full width, a class I'm creating, and here CSS will be, let's say, width 100%. Now in app component.css, I have created a class. Now this class, I can use it in my HTML over here. Now this class, table full width, this class I have created in app component. So I cannot use it in the add user, customer, or user. We will come to again that point. Whatever the class you created in a particular component, only in that component HTML code, you can use it, not in another component. Okay. Now, so if we save, so you can see parent page is coming. Beside that, we have the table, but we don't have anything. That's why table is not visible. Now, in a normal way, whenever we have to call someone, right? Let's say let's say a teacher and the students are there, or let's say I'm your teacher and I want to call someone. So how do I call him? By his name, correct? So app component is my parent component. By default, this will be loaded in my browser. So in this app component, I want to call user component over here, customer component in this TD, and the add user component in the last TD. So what I have to do, in each component, you just need to go to .ts. So in .ts, you will get to see this code. Now I won't explain like what is this and that. Just for now, consider like in each component, you will find this same code. See here also, you can find the same code. Here also, you will find the same code. But just the changes are respective to each file. Some another file name will be there. Like we are in the add user component. So here you can see add user component.html, add user component.css is there. In customer, you will have customer file references. These are nothing but the references of this file. In user, you will get user component. But one more property is there, that is selector. So if you have learned HTML now, so you will know what is selector. Selector means the tag. Okay. So as I told you, like if I have to call someone, I will call him by his name. So just like that, if we have to use any component, if we have to render any component, so we render that component by using the selector. Okay. So now first component, that is add user. Let's go to .ts. So this is the selector name. Let's copy it. And where we have to render? In app component. So in first TD, we can render one component into another component, because app component is also a component, no? But just this is like my parent component, right? Now I want to load one component into another. So how we do that? By using that selector name. So app add user, this is my selector name. So now if you remember, how does it look? This is looking like we have created any HTML tag, right? We also create HTML tag like this only, starting and the ending closing tag, right? But this is nothing but a selector of this component add user. Then in secondary, let's load customer. So app hyphen customer. So name also you can see the component name was add user. So you will get app hyphen add hyphen user. Component name is customer. So selector will be app hyphen customer. Just like that, a nomenclature will be there. Again, in app component, in second TD, I will add the selector. Then in user component, that is third component. So we have to go to .ts, copy the selector name. Let's go over here, angle brackets, closing. So now what we have done? In app component, we have tried to render all three components which we have created. Now remember, in each component in HTML, we have written some different message. In add user, we have written something like this. In customer, we have written something like this. And here also we have written something like this. Now all these three components we have rendered in the app component. Now forget about component. What we have said, component is nothing but a page. Now in app component is also a page. So in one page, we have created table, and inside the table, we have called other three pages in respective TD. So let's save and check. Now here you can see we have got parent page, and we have got this, some HTML code is coming, right? Paragraph is coming. Now this is coming from respective component. See, let's inspect. Now here if we see, we have got in app folder, we have got parent page. Beside that, we have got table. Now in first TD, see, we have got this selector of that component, and inside that we have got this paragraph. Then in second TD, we have added customer component. So see, inside customer component, paragraph is coming. So whatever the HTML code you have written now, that is visible. Means in one page, you are loading all different pages. Just like you might be aware about the iframe. So in a one page, we are loading another page, but not we using iframe. So this is by using directly selector of that component. Okay. Let's close. So we have created three components: add user, customer, and user. So as I told you, like, let's talk about add user. So let's say in add user, I want to create a class. Let's say text primary. And color will be, let's say, blue. Now in my add user component, I have created a class. Now this class, I can add it to this paragraph. Okay, let's save it and check it. Make sure whenever you are making changes, file and save all. Okay. If you just save this and you don't save on this file, if you are using Control S, so it won't work. Make sure all files are saved. So here you can see, if we inspect on the paragraph, that CSS is present. Got it? Now from where this class is coming? From add user component.css. See, it is saying like that. Now I have created this class in add user component. Now if I try to use the same class in customer component on this paragraph also, let's try to add. Now this class was present in my customer component, add user component, and same class I'm trying to use it into customer component. Let's see if it works or not. See, if we inspect, you will get to see like we have added the class, but here we are not able to see. But here it is there. So that was, I was informing earlier, like if you create any class in a particular component, that class you can use into that particular component HTML only. Got it? So if we create any class over here, so this class you can use only over here, not in another component. Now, if I create the same class in this component, but let's create with the different color red. So now here you can see you will get red color. Class name is same, But now in this customer component class, we have customer component CSS, we have created this class. So that's why it is adding. But same class name is over here also, but it is taking blue color because this we have created in add user component. Consider like you have created 2 pages. If you create one class in a one file, you cannot use that in another file. Same rule will apply over here also. Okay, so I will just pause it. Now, as I told you, like in HTML coding part, we write in the script section, right? Let's say same thing. We have created this page in add user. I need to create a I need to write some code. So where do we write the code? So this is the add user component. So in HTML file, we will design our HTML code only. So this script won't work over here. Okay. We don't write script in the Angular. Script was there in the JavaScript only. Now, in this component, I want to create some variable. In JavaScript, we used to create a script tag, and inside that we used to create the variable. Let's say I need to create a variable. So I need to go to .ts. So whatever the programming, whatever the coding you are going to write for this particular page, so that coding will be written inside this class. Inside this class, not outside over here or not over here also. Inside the class, inside the component class. Okay. Now let's try to create some variable. Again, so what is this and why it is written like this? Again, I will cover, but for now, just try to understand what I'm trying to tell you. Once 5 to 6 sessions are there, then again we will see like why it is written over here. There are so many things in this is called as a decorator. What is decorator? What is component decorator? What are the else properties we have like this? Okay, we will discuss it. But just for now, considering everyone is fresher, I'm just going through with the normal flow. Now, let's say in add user component, I want to create a variable. Now, you might know JavaScript, right? When we talk about JavaScript, there are different data types we have. So string, number, Boolean, date, object, array, null, undefined. These are the various data types we have in JavaScript. One or two might be still there. Okay. But you know, if you know well and good. But basic, these are the various data type we have. Some might not know null and undefined, but these are also data types. So basically, string, number, boolean, date, these are primitive data type. Object and array are the derived data type. Null is also an object. Undefined is also the, if we see the prototype, again, it's an object only. So same, now we are working with TypeScript. So as I told you like yesterday, like we don't have to explicitly learn the TypeScript. If you know the JavaScript, just minimal changes are there when it comes to TypeScript. Same code will work, but just some small syntax code will be there. When we used to create a variable in JavaScript, what we used to do? Var, let's say name is equal to something. Or late or const. Instead of var, you might be using late or const. Correct? Now, so in Angular, we don't have to do this. We can directly provide the name of the variable. Let's say first name. Okay. Now there are three ways to create the variables in a component. Now, first name, then colon. So I'm explaining the first way where we are creating a variable, first name. So when we work with the TypeScript, we got the strongly typing data typing, strongly type. Okay. So I will explain like what is strongly type. So this is the variable name. After that colon, then, or let's say first, if you know the JavaScript, like let's create it a var first name is equal to, let's say, Chetan. This was a JavaScript way. Let me just comment it now. Now same thing. If I have to create a variable with value Chetan, so what I can do, we don't need the var is equal to directly variable value, whatever. So this is how we create variable in TypeScript. There are three ways. This is just an easiest way. We don't need to write var, late or const, just the variable name equal to and the value, whatever you want to give. Easy. So this is the beauty of TypeScript. Now, If you see, if I hover on this, you can see we are getting the string. Same thing like we were able to say in the JavaScript also. Whatever the value we stored into that variable, that data type it will get. Correct? So this is one way. We will call it as a first way, direct initialization. Okay. Now second way. We are just saying like how many ways you can create variable. This is the first way, by directly variable name equal to and the whatever the value you need to give. Second way, what we can do is, let's say course name, then colon. Now in TypeScript, we can provide a data type also to the variable by adding colon. Then what is going to be the data type? String, like this. You can see string has some another color. So means this is nothing but a data type. Then equal to and your value. Course name, let's say Angular. This is another way. This we will call it as a direct initialization. This is declaration plus initialization, means we have created the variable along with the data type we have created, and we have initialized the value also. This is second way. Another way is course duration. Again, data type string. That's it. So this is just the declaration. This we will call it as a declaration plus initialization. Initialization mean we have initialized the value also. But this is third way. Just declaration. So these are the all three ways by which we can create a variable. One more is also there, which we normally don't use. Let's say student. Okay. So here you can see it has taken implicit anytime. Okay. So these are the various ways by which we can create variable. I hope it is clear. Now, so here we are getting some error. So what it is saying, property, in JavaScript, we used to call them variable. So in TypeScript, it will they will call the variable as property. Here you can see property means variable course duration has no initializer and is not definitely assigned in the constructor as well. So we are writing the code inside class. So whenever we say class, every class will have a default method which will execute once the class object is created. This is what the definition we know from the engineering or the MCA, whatever the technical background you are. Class will have a default method, that is constructor, which get automatically invoked whenever we create the object of the class, right? Means in a simple word, in every class, we will have a method or a function, that is constructor, like this function, opening, closing. Okay. Now, this was the third way I wanted to explain. So we have created the variable, but it is saying, it is giving error like you have created the variable, but you have not initialized that, because obviously we have not initialized. Initializes mean equal to and providing some value. So we have just created the variable, but we have not initialized the value. Now in constructor, I will just initialize the value. Now, again, coming back to JavaScript, when we used to create the variable, we used to write like this. If we have to access the variable, we used to directly access that by using first name, whatever the variable name, like that. Correct? We used to access variable like this. But in TypeScript, we have to access the variable by this and then dot. Now you can see after this, see, and I press dot. So what you are getting? You are getting some IntelliSense data. What are the variables you have created? You can see it is suggesting that. Now which variable value I have to assign? Course duration equal to 2 months. See, now error is gone. Once I initialize the value in the constructor, that error is gone. So this is how we create the variable. Those who don't know the constructor, just give it some 1 or 2 days. You will get used to it. Whatever the code we are saying, just give some days. Whatever I'm telling you, just try to do the same in the same way. Okay, once you are at that level, then you will understand. Okay. Now, coming back to the data type, like we have seen the string. Okay. Now, before going over there, let's try to see the magic or the two-way data binding you might have heard. So, can we give constructor any name? No, obviously, Naveen. So constructor is like, it's a function, but it will have this name only, constructor. We cannot give any name, any other name to this. If I tried, let's say, constructor 2, this is just a normal function. So if you, so that your question is kind of invalid. You constructor is the constructor, just like string, number, right? This is just a default keyword we have reserved for the constructor. So you cannot give any name. So this will be default. Okay. Now, every class will have one constructor only again. So we cannot create again constructor like this. See, it is giving error. Every class will have only one constructor. Okay. Vaishnav, let me just complete, then we will try. So every class will have only at least, it will have a constructor, but if we create it, then it will execute. Okay. Now, so in constructor, we have initialized this. Now I have three variables: first name, course name, and the course duration. All these variables are having some value. Now, same scenario, consider like you have an HTML page, and in your script tag, you have some variable and you have some value. Now that variable value, if you need to display inside a paragraph, so what we do, we give ID to that paragraph. Then in script tag, document.get element by ID, ID dot inner text is equal to variable. That is how we used to display variable value inside the HTML by using JavaScript. Now, let me just open that. See, this is how we used to do inner text, document.get element by ID, whatever the element you want to give inner text, then your variable name. This is how we used to display any variable value into HTML. Now, if I have to do the same thing in Angular, what I need to do, I can just use this variable. Now go to HTML. Let's open H1 over here. And inside that, I need to use double curly braces like this. And I can directly access the variable name over here. Let's just save and check it. So just remember, like inside H1, we have printed our variable name inside double curly braces. So here you can see this is our add user component. So here you can see I'm getting Chetan. So whatever we used to do, create a variable, then give ID to that element, select that element by document.get element by ID, then inner text, then you can provide the value. Now you don't need to write the whole code. You just create the variable, and wherever you need to print that variable value, you can directly use curly braces. This is called interpolation. We will come to this, but just I want to showcase like how the same thing you did in JavaScript, how it is easy in Angular. Okay. Just like that, let's say after this a hyphen I will add, and again I will print some value. Let's say second course name. This I will print it over here. Let's save. So after Chetan, hyphen is there and another variable value is also printed. Right? So there is no requirement to give ID, select that element, dot inner text, dot inner HTML. You don't need to remember. All those concepts were just to get familiar with the JavaScript, because ultimately interview is going to start with HTML, JavaScript. So someone will ask you like what is inner HTML and what is the purpose of inner text. So that's why we learn JavaScript concept. Okay. Now, so whatever the variable we create, that we can access in the HTML. So whatever the variable you create in this .ts, those variable you can access in this HTML only. So this first name variable, this variable I have created in add user component. Let's try to use the variable in customer HTML. Like this interpolation. Here only it is giving error. So what is the error? Property first name does not exist on type customer component. Means in customer component.ts, you don't have any variable with the first name. So if we see, obviously here we don't have, because this variable we have created in add user. So again, same rule like that class. You cannot create something which you have created in one component into another. Okay. So this rule will apply for the CSS also and for the variables and the functions also. So you can use whatever you create over here inside that HTML, not in another HTML, not in another component. Okay. So if you have to, let's say, instead of, let's remove this in customer component, let's create customer name colon data type string equal to Chetan Jogi. And now this variable, I will print it inside over here. Now you will file save and now you will see the value. See here, I'm getting the value because this was a customer page. Remember in the app component, we have created 3TD, in HTTD, we have loaded a particular component. So this was add user and this is from customer. So in customer component, we have created one variable and inside that variable, we have stored Chetan Jogi and that we have printed in H4. So same value you can see over here. Getting it? So this is the beauty of Angular. You don't need to give IDs, select that element. You don't need to remember like inner HTML or inner text. You can simply print the value wherever you want, as simple as that. Now, this is constructor. Now you can see print name round bracket, curly bracket. So in JavaScript, how we used to create the function? A function attribute was there. Function keyword was there. But now same thing, this was the function declaration in JavaScript. But now same thing, if I have to create function in Angular, I just have to get rid of this function. This is normal function in Angular. This is how we create the function. Okay. Now, so here I'm writing console.log. Now inside this console.log, I want to print the course duration. So in Angular, how do we access the variable? By using this. So this dot, what variable you need to access? Course duration. Okay. So print name. Now just pay attention. Here also I'm adding console.log and here I will just provide constructor. So now just pay attention. Or in each, we have rendered 3 component, right? So let's just provide add user component constructor over here. In each, in all the 3 component, I will add it. Constructor, we won't add it. In user, we will add it. Here also, I will create a constructor. And here, let's say user component. Now we have added constructor in add user and the user component. So let's just see. So in console, you can see add user component is printed and user component. Now this add user got printed from this component. And this user component got printed from this component last. Now just pay attention to this. This got printed, but why this is not got printed? Same thing is like there, na? This is also something name. And this is also something name. Same structure is there. Just here constructor we have. And here print name is there. If this got executed, but this is not getting executed, course duration is not printed. See, anywhere course duration console log not printed. Because this is a normal function. And this is a constructor. So we now if I have to call this now, let's say inside this, I will try to call. But let it be. So this is a normal function. On button click or on drop down change, we will call this. But for now, consider if you see this and this, both are looking same. Just name here, name is constructor and here print name. If you didn't know the constructor, like I told, if I didn't told you like what is constructor, how does it execute? But if you see it, constructor, this constructor, line number 23, this is getting executed. We didn't call this. We didn't execute it or we didn't invoke this anywhere, but it by default execute. So this is constructor. Constructor, you don't have to execute. It will execute by default. It will invoke itself by default. It's a self-executing function kind of thing. Okay. So whenever your component get initialized, your constructor is the first function which gets executed. Understood? Okay. So constructor is the kind of function which will execute by default. You don't have to execute it. Clear? Clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let me just close everything. Now we will try to create all the different variable data types. So let's go to customer component. Or from now on, what I will do, for each topic, I will create a component, and all that coding or the explanation we will be doing, we will do that in that particular component. Now we want to see how our various data types we can create in the Angular. So I will create a component with the variable name. So ng generate component variables. Okay. So make sure you also create a practice project, and whatever we do over here, same like that, you will also create a component, the practice you will do in that component. Okay. So now in variables, now we need to render this also. It is not just we will create it, but we need to render it also. Again, I will create a TD, and here we will render it. If we are not writing constructor, will it generate automatically powers? No, it will by default execute. Even if we write the constructor or not, it will execute by default. If we write inside something, then it will execute, similar to Java only or .NET. Okay, Naveen? By default, it is there. If you write it, it will execute. If you don't write it, obviously how it will execute. Okay. Now, different types of variable, like how we create the variable of different data types. So first I will create some variable to store the string data type. So I have explained like three ways of different variable declaration. I will use some of those. Now let's say I will need to store the first name, colon, data type will be string, is equal to value, RAM. So what I have created a variable with data type string, and I have provided the value as RAM. Then I will create one more variable, last name. Here I will assign, here I'm going to assign directly value L. Now, if you know .NET or Java, there we have a char data type. I'm not sure about Java, like do we have a char data type or not? But in TypeScript, we have a string data type. Doesn't matter if you need to store a single character, word, or a whole sentence. You have string. Everything that will goes inside the double quote, it will be string. Now just pay attention. I'm creating a variable roll number colon string, or let's not give the name data type. And here inside double quote, I'm providing 1, 2, 3. What should be the data type of roll number?
String.
Right?
Yeah.
That's because you might know like whatever goes inside the double quote, but if we see the value is integer. So by default, it would have taken the data type as number, but no, whatever it's inside the double quote or single quote, you can write double quote or single quote. Okay, in Angular or JavaScript also, you can write double quote or single quote, anything. So whatever goes inside the double quote or single quote, that will be treated as a string. Doesn't matter what its value, whether it is a number, character, boolean, date, anything. If it is inside the double quote, it will be treated as a string. So here you can see roll number has got the data type as string. Clear? Now, same thing, product, price, colon. Now we are talking about the second data type, that is number. So we have to write number over here. Equal to. Now when you write now, you will get to see capital is also there. So this is interface. We don't do that. Okay. We have to use the small one. Number is equal to now value. Integer value we can directly provide 12 point something. Okay. Product price. Let's say student roll number is equal to 1, 2, 3. Now you might know if you know Java or .NET, in Java or .NET to store the point value, decimal point value, we have float or double or something are there, right? But in Angular or in TypeScript specific, we have number. Doesn't matter you want to store decimal or integer, everything will go inside number only, just like that. Single character or the character or number of sentence also, everything will go inside the string only. Just like that, we have number only to store a decimal or the integer. Correct? After that, next data type Boolean is active. Data type Boolean. Make sure you are selecting the small one. For every data type, we have interface with the capital. Make sure you are selecting the small one. Either true Boolean will have only two value, true or false. Is student by default also. Right? So this is declaration plus initialization. This is initialization, like that. Every possible ways I am explaining. Right? So string is done, number is done, Boolean is done. After that, we have date. So let's say current date. Data type will be date. D will be capital over here. Just remember, like with date, we have capital D is equal to. Now let's say I need to get the current date. So how do we get the current date in JavaScript? Let's say in JavaScript, I need to get the current date. How do we get the current date in JavaScript?
New date.
Okay, same thing over here. New date. Okay. Current date, new date. So if you hover on this, you will get the data type as date. So these are basic data type or primitive data type. Now coming back to object. Now in Angular, string, number, Boolean, date, these are the basic data type. One more thing I have. Before that, let's me create the constructor, and in constructor, let's try to assign some values to this. So now the advantage of giving the data type, this data type, we are going to see now. Like, what is the advantage? Why do we have to give the data type like this? Now you see this dot first name. So first name is having a data type of string. Now, if I try to provide the value 1, 2, 3, it won't take. But this thing was possible in JavaScript. You create a variable, and after variable creation, you can assign any type of value to that variable. It was not restricting. But this is called strongly typing, because we have said, like, for first name, the data type is string only. So it will allow only string value to be stored. So that is the error you will get. Type number is not assignable to type string, because for this variable, we have said the data type, like, only string value will be allowed over here. So this is strongly data typing. So it will only allow string value. Got it? Now, if I print console, console.log over here, and if I try to print this dot name over here, and same thing, I paste it over here. Okay, let's check what is the output we get. So see, first we have got Ram, and then we have got Sham. Line number 24, we have got Ram, and line number 27, we have got Sham. So line number 24. Here, let's add the debugger now. Now you use the same thing how you used to add the debugger over there. Same like that, you can add it over here also. Let's save. Now let's debug. So you can see we have got the debugger over here. Now if I hover on this, what is the value? Current RAM. From where it is coming? From the initialization. Because when we create the variable, we have initialized with the value RAM. So that is why this variable currently holds the value RAM. But once this line execute, line number 26, what we are doing, we are changing the value of first name to Sham. So see now, we have got the latest value. Got it? So this is how same thing we have seen in the JavaScript also. Variable creation, once we change the value, new value will be there. In JavaScript, we directly used to print the value, print the variable name, but here we access the variable by this dot. Same like that, if you want to change the variable value, we access that variable by this dot. Okay. So this is how we change the variable. Before here, it was the initial value, then we change the value, then again we printed, it will print the new value. Okay. Now, so first name was having a data type that is Sham. Let's try one more thing. So this dot last name is equal to, let's try 1, 2, 3. Still it is giving error. But here we didn't specify any data type. See, first name we can see like we have provided the data type string. But for the last name, we didn't provide the data type. But still it is not allowing us to store the number. But it will allow us the string data only. Why is it so? Because when we declared the variable, we have provided a value of type string. So by default, it has taken the data type as string. Understood? So it doesn't matter you provide the data type or not. It will take, if you provide the data type, well and good. Even if you don't provide the data type, it will check what value you have stored inside this variable. That data type it will assign to this variable. So that's why in the last name also we are not able to store the number or Boolean also. Only it will allow string value. Clear? Just like that, let's say in product price, we cannot store string value. It will throw the error because product price has a data type of number. So it will only allow number or decimal value. Just like that with Boolean also. Same thing. Whatever the data type you say, only that will allow that data type value only is active. Either we can store true or false. Even if we enclose the false inside double quote, still it will throw the error because whatever we put inside the double quote, that will be treated as a string. Okay. Now, but let's say I have a requirement where I don't know what kind of data I'm going to store. Sometimes I might be storing string also. Sometimes I might be storing number also, or sometimes I can store integer Boolean also. So in TypeScript, we have a data type that is kind of a dynamic data type. We call it as any. So now I'm going to create a variable that is student colon any. While declaring, I'm giving name Rupesh. Okay. So this is the new data type I'm explaining you, that is any. Any means any type of data you can store. So now if you see over here, we have assigned the value string, but still the data type is not changed. It is still any only. Now you can see while creating this variable, we have stored the string type of value. Now in constructor, this dot student is equal to, I can assign integer also. This dot student is equal to false also. Any type of value, any type of data type value, you can store it to this now. So any is a dynamic data type. You only create the variable with any when you don't know or you are not sure like what kind of value you are going to store inside that. But if you know, like you are going to store the data type integer or string, you can create with particular data type, not with the any. We should not use any. That is, whenever you work on any project, you will get the list of instruction or the coding standard. There it is clearly mentioned like do not use any. But we have some scenarios where you need to store the file or something, or you don't know what type of data you are going to store. So TypeScript has provided a way to store, to create a variable like that. So we can create a dynamic data type with any. So this is how we create the variable. This is how we access the variable by using this. This is how we change the variable value. And the advantage of providing the data type, you cannot store any value inside that variable. Whatever the data type you have said, only that type of value will enter into that variable.